I'm so excited.
523 what?
Horse.
Can I just give you my wallet?
How did it all start, man? Like, where is it?
Good for you. That's a really nice story, and that's surprising too.
Well, there's a lot of interesting things going on here. You mind taking us on a tour and showing us around a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
What's up, everybody? We're here at Kpower, Miata, Kpower Industries.
We're Miata, now we're Kpower because we do more than Miatas, so we had to change.
We've decided this is new, so people don't know about this. We're gonna K-swap the Miata. We're doing it, yay! So we're here at Kpower with David, the owner here, and we're picking up some parts for the K-swap. Some of the parts are gonna be 2 to 3 months down the road, so we're still waiting on.
Yeah, I would say 2 to 3 weeks probably, to a month maybe.
Well, we still got a lot of work to do on the Miata. We gotta take out the engine, and we gotta we're changing, it's a automatic right now, so we're gonna manual swap it, so we gotta get the manual put in there too. So we got lots of work, we got body work to do.
Yeah.
So this is cool. Thank you for allowing us to come in here and see what you got going on. How did it all start, man? Like, where is it?
Where did it start? Jeez, I went to Integra Type R Expo in 2012 at Mid-Ohio, and I had an Integra with a K24 swap in it, and a good friend of mine, and maybe you know him, Austin Cabot, who's a part of the Slip Angle podcast, and Adam Jabay, who's also part of that, part of Grid Life. I rode out there with Adam, with both of our cars on his trailer, and we had 2 Hondas. Austin had this old NA Miata that he picked up that just had some coilovers on it and some wheels and tires, and he let me drive it at Mid-Ohio. I'd never driven a Miata. I always just assume I can't fit in them. And I took this car around for a 20-minute session, and I was like, oh my gosh, this car has so much grip. This thing's so fun. It was like it was so easy to drive. And it just had no power at all. And the whole way home, 6-hour drive back to Chicago, I'm just thinking like, man, this car just needs a K24 in it. Like, it just needs a K24 in it. And I'm like, I think I want to pick up a Miata, not even a K-swap, just to own one and just to have as kind of a more chill track car. Yeah. But I'm like, I think we need to also look into this. And I was kind of in the mentality of like, I'm looking for an opportunity to start a business in motorsports. I want to find something, I want to find like some need in a market and fill that need. And I looked online and all I saw were V8 swaps, and I saw a lot of turbos and superchargers, but nobody was making just like a nice, badass 4-cylinder engine swap for Miata. And the K is the 4-cylinder swap if you're gonna do one. So it was like, you know, I thought about it for another 2-3 months, and then eventually, like, all right, it's time to start working on something. So little by little, alongside my day job, I just started tinkering with things. And actually, Will, our head machinist over here, he worked at a machine shop that I got linked up with to design the first adapter plate. Okay. And then that's kind of where it all started. That's how I met Will. I ended up bringing him on full-time in 2018. It was our first full-time employee aside from myself. And
so what year was all that started? Like, what year was the first time you drove the Miata?
2013 is when we started it.
So not that long ago.
No, not that long ago. And then we started selling parts in 2014. And it wasn't until January 2017 where I actually like rented a shop and was like, okay, like we've got like a little revenue coming in. We have a swap that people want. And now we actually need to turn this thing into something big. And here we are a few years later, and there's 7 of us here. And now we're doing E30s and BRZs and all kinds of stuff. So,
you guys are busting at the seams in here.
We are. Yeah, like I was telling you off camera, we're taking over the shop next door because we have no room. So we've been here for less than 2 years. We came from a tiny shop that was like 1,200 square feet. It was like a CNC machine, 2 cars, a little office, a little bathroom, that was it. And we had no room. And then we moved in here and we're like, wow, we have 4 times the space now. What are we gonna do with all this? And then like within like 6 months, we're like, oh, it's full. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of interesting things going on here. You mind taking us on a tour and showing us around a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. This is a new NB Miata we built to replace my old original NB that was pretty haggard from just being a development car for so long. It's seen thousands and thousands of laps. It was pretty was pretty worn out, and it was like just good enough to do testing, but we never really did a nice ground up build. And so this car has kind of been the Miata I've always wanted to build. We ended up deciding to turbo it, and we are going to run it in Grid Life Time Attack just to develop more turbo parts for these cars. Okay. So this is a K24 Z3, which has an integrated exhaust manifold into the head. So it's just a single port. And so it's kind of like, hey, put a turbo right here. And so we worked with a guy named Stefan at Nap Motorsports to come up with a little turbo adapter, which you can kind of see. It's a billet, single piece stainless machined transition from the head to an internal gate G-Series turbo. And so the turbo packaging and plumbing is super simple. It's a $500 engine, and we should be good for, I mean, the goal will be to run this thing about 450, 500 horse on a stock block. And I mean, we'll see how that all goes. Hopefully it'll be on the dyno next week.
Where would this motor have originally appeared, and what car would we have seen this in?
2009 to 2014 TSX.
Nice.
So the older K engines that we use, primarily we use the 04 to 08 TSX engine, and that has like a more traditional 4 runners, 4 exhaust ports. You put a regular header on it, as you'll see on the other cars. But then this just works out well for a Miata because there's a lot tighter exhaust packaging. So this swap, even though this car has an aftermarket subframe, most cars that do this swap can retain the stock subframe, which is a big deal in a Miata. Opens up the door for more racing classes. So that's why we kind of went to this engine back in 2019 as another option. And then now we're just kind of tapping into the turbo potential. So
this is the same engine that we're putting in ours, so the K24, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How does this compare in size to the original Miata engine? It looks a little big.
It is taller by, 2 or 3 inches, but it's a very tall engine. It doesn't look like it would clear. You can see, you could trim a tiny bit of the skeleton right there if you don't want it to rub on track. But, I mean, the hood does close. In NA Miata, we actually make a modified valve cover that actually, I can show you one of them, but we machine off the front edge of the cover and weld a nice little plate on and grind the weld off and then powder coat it. It looks factory, but it gives you like an extra ½ inch of space on the front edge. So, nice. Yeah, it's all those little things we've had to figure out.
But how much of this engine, because I see a lot of new looking parts on it, but how much of this would, when you take it out of a TSX, yep. This all looks new.
This is, I mean, the intake manifold is our manifold that we sell. Right. This timing chain cover is our brand new cast cover that allows you, without going into a lot of detail, allows you to run the older style crank position sensor on the newer style engine. So you can run these engines on all of the old ECUs that have easy to bypass immobilizers and more tuning available for them. So we're just kind of debuting the cover on this car, but we've got a bunch of them we've already machined right here. And then, a lot of this stuff is just, new alternator, new sensors, new hardware. I mean, when like this car, we just replaced everything. Just all new OEM. Everything on the engine.
These aren't all upgrades, so I'm just seeing some new
Right,
parts
exactly.
here.
Some of the stuff's just new. It's just new stuff. I mean, this is, like this manifold you'll run in your car. All the other, since a K-Series comes out of a front-wheel drive car, the manifold is normally pointed like, the throttle body ends up being like right here, and it doesn't really work for a rear-wheel drive car. So a couple years ago, I mean, this is a 2-year-long project, but we designed our own cast manifold that we have those made for us now, and that was like a really lengthy, expensive process. A lot of dyno tuning, 3D printed parts and things like that. And so now all of our swaps just get one of those and it's very easy. It looks very OEM.
How much horsepower does a K24 have in stock form?
So from the factory, a TSX will only put down maybe 175 to the wheels.
But for a Miata, that's a lot.
For a Miata, that's a lot. And what we find, like with a K24 A2 swap, most customers are putting down about 220 to 230 just with a stock engine, just because we supply a better flowing manifold, a better flowing header. You tune the car. It's not confined to the stock, bolt-ons, I guess, in the TSX. So, and then a Z3 engine, those usually make 205 to 210, 215 or so, a little less thanks to the exhaust side of the head that doesn't flow as much. But I mean, still plenty of power for a Miata, and that's like a real common setup for a lot of the Miatas running in Grid Life Touring Cup, because they actually still even have to detune them a little bit more. So they're running 185, 190 horse out of a detuned K-Series.
If you're a Miata owner, you're dreaming of 180. Because what was a turbo going to get us? So I think if you put a turbo kit on a regular Miata, you get 140, 60?
You can get, the most you can really do safely is around 220 to 230 before you send rods out of the block. So, you know, that's kind of the nice thing. Like, this is like our stock engine baseline with no boost is the most that you can make with like a turbo kit with a stock Miata engine.
And as far as cost goes, I mean, that's what we were looking at. You know, we were deciding on whether we do a turbo on the OEM engine or we go with this K-swap. And as we got into it, it costs a lot to do a turbo because you got to upgrade a lot of other stuff. When
you know, it's one of those things that it depends on who you ask, because some people say, oh, I turbo my Miata for $4 or $5 grand. But if they're actually going to track the car, it's not. You're going to spend more than K-swap dollars real fast to make the thing reliable. I mean, I can tell you right now, doing a turbo setup, I mean, look at all this. I mean, look at all, and the amount of money I've spent in fittings and piping and it's a $500 intercooler. I mean, it's, you know, a $600 radiator. I mean, all this stuff just to keep the car cool. You know, I got Chandler building all this, you know, shielding to protect the ABS and all the electronics and things like that. And so, I mean, it is $10,000, $12,000 to do like a nice turbo setup in a Miata at a minimum if you want it to actually stay cool.
Right, or otherwise you're just trying to find the weak link in the stock Miata.
If you want to just drive on the street, you know, and occasionally rip on a little bit, you know, you can get away with a 200 horsepower turbo Miata for a little while and that'll be fine. But as soon as you start really putting it through the paces, that's really where the K-Series shines. I mean, we got guys doing endurance racing with the K24. Our company did a 14-hour enduro at Sebring in 2019. I mean, this is a stock K24. We ran for 14 hours on a 100-degree day. 14 hours in the car.
But that's what's great, because that engine was engineered to run like that all day.
And it's still a $1,000 junkyard engine that we just were able to do that with, and it can handle it. So you can't do that with a turbo Miata. So it just depends what you're looking for ultimately.
Yeah, I think for our build, you know, what we're looking to build is just a nice car, something that somebody can bring to, you know, to some car shows on Sundays or whatnot, but be able to do something more if they wanted to.
If they want to, you have that potential, exactly, without needing to redo a lot of the turbo parts. And that's what you'll find. A lot of guys will do an off-the-shelf turbo kit and they start tracking it, and they're like, okay, now I need to upgrade this, now I need to upgrade that, and they keep going, and all of a sudden they've like rebuilt the whole thing, and they spent a whole lot more money, and that's like a frustrating experience to like find all the failure points and then.
Especially unless you have a shop.
Yeah, but even still, I mean, you want to spend $400 on a track weekend and then just be overheating and blowing things up. It's like, you know, so we really do, you know, the nice thing is we do so much track testing that if someone exclusively wants a street car, like, great. We have beaten on these cars to such a level that like any of the cars we've built, I would hop in and drive across the country without even thinking about it as a street car. Even our new stuff, our E30, our BRZ, I mean, they're like bulletproof. I mean, we've put them through the paces. So that's kind of what the street car crowd gets. And they're the occasional track day guy, autocross guy. You at least get something that's been vetted very well.
So all the parts and everything, is everything machined here? I see all the machines in the back.
We do
that like
a lot of machining here. Like pretty much all the milling we do here. We make all the adapter plates. We make all the coolant necks and all. I mean, you'll have anything that you've got in your swap that's like a machine part, aside from the flywheel, is all made here.
Okay. And then do you like work on customer cars here, or you just?
We don't. So that's kind of been a strategic decision where I can, if we do that, I am pulling guys off of development projects. We've done a couple customer cars. We've done some, you know, maintenance on customer cars, but like we really try not to, because I mean, it's just so much work to develop product, and if I have to have a tech back here working on something else, I mean, it takes away from what our core business is. So
they're not moving the ball forward if
right,
working on a customer.
They're not moving the ball forward, and you know, so we've talked about once we have more space, you know, we can hire a person or two, and we can do more turnkey builds if the demand is there. I'm unconvinced that I want to do that necessarily, because we have a good thing going. And we still build cars here. They're just our cars that we use for development. So we got a fun little fleet of stuff here, and there's always something being worked on here.
I think the fun part for us, I mean, is just doing it ourselves too. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and it's a fun build. I mean, that's like exciting to people. So yeah, you know.
What are we getting ourselves into?
What do you mean? Like as far as like
actually do this? I mean, because for me, like a lot of the guys have done a lot of this stuff, so I'm confident that we have the knowledge to be able to do this. But for me, it's like I'm looking at it. I've never done anything like this.
Yeah.
Like removing an engine from a car.
Yeah.
I'm like, where do we start on that? Like,
yeah.
Because it seems I look at it, and I'm like, that's a lot of stuff to mess up.
Right. Well, and this is a lot more of a complex build. I mean, we should take. This other one is turboed here, but I could show you like the BRZ if you guys want to see like an NA build, like how much simpler it is. I mean, the nice thing about our swaps is they're really 99% bolt in. You don't have to do any fabrication. You have to cut a little something here or there, but like no welding. You got to do a little splicing on the Miatas for wiring, just because of the way the wiring harness is configured. The E30 and the BRZ is all plug and play wiring. You plug it in, plug in the ECU, upload a base map, and the car runs. The Miata's a little more work, just because it's old. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it goes as well as you allow it to go by just taking your time, doing your homework, having, qualified people looking at it, so.
And it gave me confidence that you have so much stuff on your website.
Right. I mean, you look at the install guide for the Z3 swap and it's 60 pages long probably.
Yeah.
And is every single thing in there? No. I mean, the first step is like remove factory engine and trans.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to do that. We just assume there's like some baseline knowledge.
That's a good first step, because if you can't get past that first step, then you're not going to like the rest
We say
of it.
remove the dash due to the wiring. I'm not going to tell you how to remove the dash. There's info online to do that.
We just removed the dash in ours.
There you go. See, it's not bad. It takes you an hour. Yeah.
There's some wires cut. Jimmy
know.
gets a little wire cut happy.
Yeah.
Just cut it. What do you mean you cut it? No.
Maybe don't cut anything till it runs. That's usually what I tell people. Don't cut anything out until you're sure you don't need it.
So I've got a couple more questions about this motor.
Yeah.
Because one thing that you've driven a stock Miata, I had the very similar experience, whereas I thought Miata was a stupid car until I actually drove one and went, oh, this is great.
It's a special chassis.
Now you double the weight of the motor in the front end by putting a V8 in a Miata, and I think you destroy what makes a Miata fun.
I mean, you'll hear people say that you can certainly make a V8 Miata handle well. Really, you can. You just have to really rework the whole car.
You can make a 911 handle well, but you need a team of German engineers.
Right, there you go. The nice thing about this swap is it does drop. If you take like a spec Miata with no AC and no power steering, like a 1.8 spec Miata, and you K-swap it, you drop 20 to 30 more pounds off the nose of the car.
Wait, you remove 20 to 30 pounds?
Remove 20 to 30 pounds. It's an aluminum block versus an iron block. So even though it's a little taller of an engine, it is lighter. So it's not a drastic weight drop.
That's a win.
But the big weight drops are on the E30 and the BRZ, where you're talking 140 to 200 pounds, depending on what it is.
When you say E30, I think of the vaunted BMW M3.
Yep.
But yet I'm not looking at it's an E36.
We have an E30 back there. This is just my E46, but there's an E30 tucked away back there we can take a look at that does have a K24 in it as well.
Who's going to take a very valuable E30 and do an engine swap? Or are you taking the E30 engine and putting it in other applications?
We have a couple customers that have done the E30 M3s, which are worth crazy money.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can go buy a clean E30 for under 10 grand. It just got to be a 325 or a 318 or something. So this is a 325 automatic sedan that we bought. We converted to manual, reworked everything, and we put a K24 A2. But so that's what we do.
So we're getting the K-swap stuff. You got any NA manual like transmissions laying around?
Probably. Ask me to check after. I may have a couple things.
We had a donor car that we were going to take the manual transmission out of, but that fell through. So they're all over the place. It's not going to be hard to find.
Right. So these cars too, like for the turbo applications, we make a whole kit to put a BMW trans actually into a Miata. So we run an E46, either a 5-speed or a 6-speed trans in these cars. So this has an E46 5-speed. The white one's got an E46 6-speed in it.
Okay.
I'll show you that car because it's actually a finished car. It looks really nice.
And that fits in there?
It does. We make a whole kit for it. That includes the trans mount and the adapter and the flywheel, the shifter parts, the clutch hydraulics, all that.
What's wrong with the Honda transmission?
The Honda trans is a front-wheel drive trans. So as soon as you take your engine and you turn it, you can't make it work. So for the NA cars like yours, we do a Miata 5 or 6-speed trans, and those transmissions handle 200 horse, 250 horse fine. But when you want to throw 500 horse at one, it's going to instantly detonate. So that's why we make these other options. And that's kind of where the E30 swap came from, is that we were having all these E30 guys buying our adapter plates and flywheels and like starting their own swap. And we're like, oh, I guess we should probably make the rest of it. So now we do, and we sell a bunch of them. People love it. So, but yeah, I mean, I can take you around and show you some of the other cars if you want, or whatever you'd like. So yeah.
Is that NA that's fully swapped?
This is a swapped car. I may push this back a little bit here so you can see it a little bit better.
This is the best part about Miatas. We can all lift it if you want.
Yeah, they don't really. Yeah, we can all just grab a corner.
Yeah, we all, work up a sweat there. You got a lot of Honda stuff here. I recognize the shifter.
The shifter actually, the shift knob, it looks like a Honda knob, but that's actually ours. We actually make those. Yeah, so we make the little insert that's got our logo on it and everything. But yeah, so this is just our street car, which is just a kind of a hilarious. I mean, it makes 523. 385 torque. I drove it for the first time this year.
523 what?
Horse.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, stock K24, and it's pretty terrifying.
It's not a stock K24 if it makes 500 horsepower.
Well, I mean, you know, with 18 psi it does. So.
Wow.
But internally stock engine. So that's kind of what's wild about these is that like.
Why does everyone get so excited about Supras when you've got this?
I don't know. It's a 2,300-pound Miata that makes
crazy
over 500 horse. It's really fast. The pace this thing moves, even in 5th and 6th gear, is hilarious. Like it's wild. So this car we built kind of just to have an actual street car. It's like a nice full interior car. It's got Lotus Elise seats in it. It's comfortable. It's we've driven this car to Atlanta on the street. We've driven it to Tail the Dragon. We've done like a 2,500-mile road trip in this thing, and the car just works. And then if you just want to like disappear on the highway, you just like drop into 4th gear and you're just gone. So,
can I just give you my wallet?
Yeah, right. This is not a cheap build. But yeah, this kind of has everything that we make in here. This is the car we used to develop the drivetrain parts. We did some initial turbo work on this thing. This has been kind of a guinea pig car. This is the first car that had AC. We removed AC since when we boosted it. We developed our power steering solution on this car. So.
Do you prefer the NB? I see a few of them over the NA.
We do. We do have our Enduro cars in NA, which is not here right now. It's actually at a buddy of mine's house because we kind of share it with him. We prefer the NB only for the fact that the wiring is simpler, and you can fit more tire under them, and you don't have to worry about hood clearance. I mean, it's minor stuff. Half of our customers have NAs, half have NBs. It's like right down the middle.
So ours is a right-hand drive.
Right.
Is there anything special that we need to do?
Yes. Not a lot. For a Z3, thankfully, is easier because the engine mounts bolt into the stock location on the stock subframe.
Okay.
So where you will run into a little work on your end is on the exhaust side. So Miata normally has the exhaust on the driver's side, and then the K-Series has it on the passenger side. And so if you look at the downpipe we normally supply for the Z3 engine, it goes down and it kind of crosses over like underneath the transmission, the little oval section, and then runs the exhaust down the driver's side again. Okay. And so for a right-hand drive, you just have a steering column that takes up some of that space. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to get a little more creative with how you run that. Either you'll have to go to a little smaller diameter in a place, or you'll have to kind of come forward and backward. We've seen a lot of guys do different things, but the nice thing about the Z3 swap is you're dealing with one pipe instead of 4 and trying to package a full header in there. Okay. So that's why. And we've seen guys do that as well, but the Z3 is certainly like, the big appeal of that is the packaging in a Miata is really nice.
This blows me away, because I came here as a Miata purist, and to come into a store where they're making Frankensteins out of Miata was like, I thought you'd be meaner, you know?
You know, what we found is Miata guys buy Miatas because the chassis is fantastic. They're not like, wow, this BP engine is so good, I love this engine. Like, no, I was the same. I was like, wow, this engine is super slow, but this chassis is a blast. And so that's kind of the same thing that you see with the other chassis that we support, with the E30 and now the BRZ. Nobody bought these cars because they're like, wow, this heavy inline 6 that makes 150 horsepower is so cool. Yeah. But they like the cars. And so if we can improve the cars, make them more reliable, give them way more power potential, you know, that's kind of the little market that we've carved out, and specifically for the rear-wheel drive cars, because again, everybody else that really makes parts for these things are all for front-wheel drive Hondas generally. And so that was really our niche.
And that's what it's all about, making the drive a little more fun.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, so that's this guy.
Back to your background personally, because I think your story is cool, but I also think it's validating that if you are passionate and authentic about something, that you just do it and do it well, and people will find you.
That was kind of my approach. My background was in sales, in business, customer service. I managed a team of a dozen people not engineering at all. I just hire the engineers. That's it. I'm not a machinist. I know how to turn on the machines and I know how to run parts through them if there's a job already set up. That's it. But I have two people who are very talented who can take care of that. So, that's the only reason I think we've been successful is because I worked very hard, but I also knew what to spend time on and what to not spend time on. And, our fab guy, Chandler, you look at his fab skills and I'm like, I will never, ever be able to do that, no matter how hard I try and how much time I try to spend on it. Or John, who does our wiring. Who sorted out the whole, he does all this stuff. The BRZ, he just drew up a giant wiring diagram, built a harness, and we got in the car and we fired it up. First time, it just worked. Everything worked, no codes, no nothing. Like, I can't do that. That's okay. I'll pay someone to do that. That's kind of been my approach, is like find the right people, or a lot of times the right supplier that will partner with us and say, hey, look, this is, I'm starting a business. I need someone to build me this. Can you work with me? And just by being good at pulling all the strings and bringing everybody together, that's what I do well, and then I let them stick to what they do well, and so far it's worked. So
good for you. That's a really nice story, and that's surprising too, because I was expecting you to say you were an engineer of some sort. But
a lot of people think that, and it's kind of funny. I'm like, no, I have a business degree, that's it.
Well, people ask me detailing questions, and I go, I like detailing, but I'm not the guy. Talk to Will.
Exactly, exactly. Very much so. I am not the guy. I actually wish I was back here working on cars more than I am. Because lately I'm just in my office running a business. And I'm like, man, I gotta, as we've added staff, now that we've hired 2 people to help in the office, paying bills and handling orders and helping on the customer service side of things. I don't know if you talked to Chris at all. I think maybe just you and I, a little bit. Okay, so Chris, does a fantastic job. He's a great photographer. He knows K-Series stuff well, so he can take these phone calls. So I don't have to take all the phone calls, So it's like little by little, I'm just trying to replicate myself in small ways and just kind of keep farming out what I'm spending my time on and finding like, where's the bottleneck in my day and who can I hire to alleviate that so I can keep kind of staying more high level to work on the next project or whatever, so.
Good for you, because then we don't have to tell you that you don't want to be working on customer cars. Sounds like you already know.
It's kind of the vibe I get. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, I'll show you here. I'll show you the rest of the stuff if you'd like to see. This is our kind of latest and greatest here. This is
I love that.
Yeah, this has turned out really nice. This is a like 100% functional package, functional swap that will be available with every single piece you need to build a swap like this, including the AC lines. As you can see, the car has AC. Everything works. All the traction control, the ABS, all the interior, all the CAN bus stuff is all integrated. Everything works. The wiring plugs in. It's like the simplest, cleanest swap. Look at how much room is in this bay.
There's a ton of room left.
All right, so you pulled a 4-cylinder. It's a Toyota 4-cylinder that came.
Subaru. It's a Boxer.
Subaru. All right, it's Boxer 4. Tell me about horsepower and weight. How much more power are you gaining, and how much weight have you added or lost?
Just as far as the numbers go, an FA20, which is the stock engine, usually will make around 150, 155 to the wheels. This car made 230 to the wheels with just a stock junkyard engine. But we also dropped 140 pounds out of the car, mostly all out of the front of the car. And so a lot of people love the Boxer engine and they're like, oh, the weight is so low. It's like, well, it's just that there's all this weight. There's just way too much weight. You got 2 cylinder heads, we've got the engine tucked away back there. The thing's massive. And so we took the whole drivetrain, we pushed it back 4 inches, we lowered it 2 inches. And so now our transmission, we use the stock trans in this car, and it is repositioned so far back and lower Our weight balance has improved in the car. I mean, the weight off the nose of the car is huge. And then I think the biggest thing is like, that's our baseline. I mean, you can, I mean, this is like the least amount of power you're gonna make in this swap. I mean, you can boost it. You could do a 300 wheel horsepower engine build, which is what's gonna ultimately end up in one of these cars. Just like 300 horse NA, 9,000 RPM, like fun track car. We'll probably do something like that. But the biggest thing with the K is that the reliability of the factory engines in these cars, especially the early cars, the 2013s and 2014s, are terrible. This car has 66,000 miles on it and had been through 3 engines before we got it from our friend to do the swap. So 3 engines, 66K. Yeah, so this we're excited for. This isn't even available for purchase yet. We did 5 days on track with this car last month already. It's got a lot of test time into it. We're tweaking a couple final things. We'll probably do one more weekend in April and then put everything into production. But it's really solid. It's really come together well. So
Where's your home track? Where do you go around here?
Gingerman very often, just because it's very accessible, even though we gotta kind of go around the lake. It's like 2 hours, 45 minutes. It's not too bad. Autobahn is closer, Blackhawk is closer. Just days at either track are a little less available. It's just, you can get a lot of cheap track time at Gingerman for the extra hour drive or whatever, so we end up there quite a bit. We haven't even had it there this year though, because they don't open until like this weekend. So we went down to Barber like on March 5th, and then we went to NCM, and then we went to Putnam last weekend. So we've been like hitting every track within driving distance that's open, just to get a jump start on our testing. So,
Are you guys hosting an event up at Gingerman?
we are. We're hosting 2 events at Gingerman this year. We're doing our Miata meetup event, which we had to cancel last year, just because everything had to get canceled last year. But that's May 22nd and 23rd. That's all Miatas only. Love to see if we can get you guys there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not by May.
It's a tight timeline.
Yeah, I don't know if ours is gonna be done.
Or come hang out and ride in some cars. Come ride, I'll take you out on this thing. It'll be fun. So we'll have all these cars there, just taking people out on track. And then we have another weekend that just opened to all cars. I think it's September 18th and 19th, or 19th and 20th. I think 18th and 19th. Just open track weekend, only intermediate advanced drivers, no instructors, just like, hey, come hang out and just drive. We just, just because we just wanted to. That's really it.
That's the authenticity that I think you're selling here.
We care about the community. We love to hang out at the track with everybody. I mean, we show up at events now. Like I went up to Road America last September for the last GLTC races and stuff with Grid Life, and I think there were 8K Miatas there. And I just rolled up in like my M3 to hang out. I was like, hey guys, what's going on? I was like, oh, hey everybody. And everyone's out there racing these cars. They're all running flawlessly. And I just felt like a proud dad, I was like, oh my gosh, look at this.
That's awesome. Those are my babies.
Yeah, exactly. Look at you guys making me so proud. So yeah, so that's our BRZ, and I can show you this thing. It's a little hard to get at also because the hood is an E30, it's an E30 hood. What's that?
Couldn't find a coupe?
We traded this car for a bunch of parts for a guy who was K-swapping his E30. And it was in Michigan. It was pretty accessible, so we ended up with a sedan. But yeah, unfortunately it's kind of hard to see, but nothing you haven't quite seen already. But this is, this is it. It's like a modern E30 M3, high revving, lightweight 4-cylinder that's actually reliable and doesn't cost $1 million to maintain, so. But this is like a similar type of thing. Bolt-in swap, plug-and-play swap.
So how often do you get to drive something like that? I mean, are you?
A bunch. We drive quite a bit. I probably do the most driving out of anybody here. It's just kind of how it started because I'm like, first it was just me. So I just had to go test cars. So John, who's actually off today because I wish he was here, but he just bought a house. He's dealing with house things today. He'll be back hopefully tomorrow. But him and I have been track buddies for a long time, since like 2010, and he moved here from Michigan to come work here, and which is really cool. And so he's kind of our head tech and our wiring guy. And so him and I, we drove down to Barber together and just took turns turning laps, just alternating every session. That's what we've been doing all March. It's just All right, John, you want to take it out? Okay, I'll take it out. Who else can we throw in here? We probably had a half dozen people drive this car.
And you said the BMW transmission works?
Yeah, this car is a stock trans, yeah, which is actually cool. And what I love about the E30 and that we're just seeing customers tap into now is the trans and diff in these cars is just like real strong. Like you can put 600 horsepower through it and it's fine. So like for a turbo K-series platform, E30 is pretty cool. You find a nice E30, just do a crazy turbo setup in and just keep your drivetrain in there.
That might be the next project car.
Because I can get behind that because I've always liked these cars.
And they're a longer wheelbase car. This thing is such a short car. I mean, when it gets loose on you, it just wants to kill you. Yeah. And one of these, like when you slide this thing around on track or something, you're just like, oh, come back, it's easy. Miata, you gotta be like really, really quick. So yeah, I think that for a big power car, E30 would be the way.
Yeah, maybe that's the next one, we build a race car. Full on race car.
Then we could like take bets on who's gonna die in it, you know? You know what we should do is build a race car and put non-race car drivers in it.
So you got some, so like this looks like an older.
This is, yeah, this, my joke is that it's from like World War II because this looks like a plane or something. No, this is an old lathe. Our neighbors moved out over here. Okay. We don't need a lathe for a lot of stuff we do. And right now we're running a job, but we basically, they went out of business. They had the lathe. They're like, hey, you want this lathe for a couple grand? And I'm like, all right, we'll take it. So we use it. We don't use it every day. The mills we have going every day, but it's kind of a big footprint. It kind of takes up a lot of room, but temporary problem. So we thought we'd grab it. It's like when they built machines that never died. But yeah, I'll show you. We can take a look at the rest of this stuff.
Show us where the magic happens.
Exactly. Let's see what's going on over here. So here, like one of these will come with your swap. This is this is just a water neck that's not finished, but you know, this is first operation, second, then we got to do each side. So those are working their way through. We don't have a ton of super interesting stuff. This you can see I'm running right now. This is our, we just bought this machine in January. We actually bought a brand new one. These are all older used machines we picked up. That's kind of how we started the business, and now we've kind of moved towards spending big boy dollars on brand new equipment.
Yeah, nice.
So
that just water cooling it there?
Yep, it's got a coolant. It's like a coolant water mix.
And it just recycles it?
Yep, it just keeps circulating through as a big 30 or 40 gallon tank.
Oh, and it switches the drill bits and everything? That's
awesome.
Oh
yeah, it's got a big, even though, I mean, they're all like that. You can see there's a big drum on the side up there, you can see it. That's got all the tools are in there. You can see it through the little window. There's like 30 some tools in there at any given point.
I want to make something. I wonder what I'm gonna make.
I need to get something machined for my car.
Yeah.
Look at the computer, I'm like, it looks complicated. The numbers, what do they mean?
All that stuff
Do you feel out of your element here? Like, wow, yeah. This is more serious than anything we do.
So here's the end product. So this is what you end up with. And so what we do is they will start, I think we're all through them.
That's between the transmission and the motor?
Yep. So this bolts the engine, trans bolts to it. So we buy these plates just as blanks with no holes or anything in them, and then with these little ears on there, and then we bolt them. As you can see, we use that to lock them down, and then the next operation where it gets flipped upside down, those get machined off. And then there's one more operation that we use just to kind of clean up all the edges so you get the nice chamfer so you're not cutting yourself on it, you know, that nice edge, and just kind of the final detail. Then we send them out to get zinc plated. We work with a company in Elk Grove that does these for us. Okay. So we just bring them 50 plates and they'll just, they'll just plate them. And
what does the zinc plating do for you?
It makes it not rust. It's just because it's mild steel, so this will rust super fast as soon as you put it in a car. So we just make it look nice. And you'll see a lot of companies make these out of aluminum. But what we found is that for a 1/2-inch plate, you have so few threads. Yeah. Like the very first plate we made was aluminum, and all the threads are stripped out. And the steel ones, I mean, this is really stout. The original plates in steel are like still in our cars. And we've had, as we've developed things, we've taken transmissions out, I don't know how many times, and and these just work. So that's why we do this. It is more work. Takes longer, but the end product is nicer. We got to get them all, the plate all precision ground like this. So it costs more money, but it just makes a better product. And we're very much about like, let's spend the money on the product where it needs to be. And do you want your adapter plate to be $100 less and have all the threads strip out? No. So here we are with a steel plate. So that's kind of how we try to do things anyway. So anyway, that's what all this will become here.
I was hoping to come here and feel more confident about what we're doing, but I feel less confident now. Seeing everything, I'm like, oh, this is a lot.
Think of it this way. We did 99% of the work for you. This is easy. This is just like you get a bag of bolts and you line things up and you put the bolts in the right spot.
It's like Legos, Jason.
Okay.
It's just like Legos. It's easy. So anyway.
What are you doing here? I mean, you got a whole block in here.
This was just to...
That's the 20 horsepower vector
yeah,
drive.
right. This is, honestly, it's literally just to machine the final operation on these covers and drill and tap the holes in the right place. So it's easier to fixture it just with an actual block in there than try to build something to attach it to. So that's just the way we did that. And I think these are about done. So
I'm curious about the genesis of your business. So you told us how you had the idea. I got to put K-swap in this. You said you're married, you got kids.
yeah.
This obviously isn't inexpensive. So how did you go, yeah, I'm going to do this? Like, was it a leap of faith? Did you do a lot of planning? Did you have a lot of money? Did you someone finance you?
No, I just had $3,000 and I just started working really hard. I mean, it was like, and I had enough good friends that like Adam Jabay from Grid Life, who, Grid Life didn't exist at the time, but he thought what I was doing was cool. And he was like, I'll help you build some engine mounts and stuff. And so like all of the oil pan, the mounts, the subframe, all the first stuff was just done in his shop, like in his free time, which he has none of. And he just helped me out. And so now anytime Adam ever needs anything, I'm like, here, anything you need, buddy. Anthony, who's actually here, who doesn't work here, but he stopped by, he helped me wire the first car. And he's very good at wiring. And he just came over and he was like, I'm into this. This is cool. And so, I just, little by little, I mean, what was hard is building all of that on the side without I had to work. Like, I had a job. And I couldn't just walk away. And so I just, it was a very slow process. I mean, we do in sales now in a month what we did in the first 2 years, I mean, it just was like, just baby steps, just keep working at it and just test some more and find the right connections. Like now we can build anything because I know how to do it. But initially I'm like,
well, you got all the stuff.
Who are we gonna find to do this? Because we do a lot here, but we still have a few dozen suppliers that we use for all kinds of stuff, And all of just making all those connections and stuff just took a lot of time. So yeah, January 2017 is when I quit. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. And I didn't take a salary for 6 months. And I was just working really hard. And I'm like, okay, I guess I need to pay myself something. And I was like, how little can I take out of the business? And it was like that for the first year and a half of that. I was like, okay, what do I need? What do I absolutely need? And that's it. And that's just what had to happen, so.
Where's the future going? Obviously, you're going to be expanding a little bit with the...
Yeah, the future is going to be, for the short term, we're sticking with K-Series stuff. That's obviously our bread and butter, what we know. So once the BRZ swap hits the market, this summer is the target there. We are going to do the NC and the ND Miatas next. So we will round out that Miata product line. Because right now, it's we sell tons of this stuff, and it only goes up to cars up to 2005. Yeah. And so you got 16 more years of Miatas and none of our stuff even fits. So that's our next project. And now we really have the team that we can knock those cars out pretty efficiently. I mean, the BRZ, it took us from 3 months of a stock car to the car running. Yeah. And so I'm hoping that the whole project ultimately ends up taking a year. That's how this stuff goes. But if we start those, then we'll be in good shape there. And then we will see after that. I mean, I've got ideas.
Do you guys do any competition racing yourselves?
We do. So we've done endurance racing, and then we've done time attack. Okay. And then what we are going to be doing, the plan is to buy another BRZ and build an endurance car out of that car, and then be able to also run it in Grid Life Touring Cup if we want. But it'll be like very similar to that car, just caged, prepped race car. So that is our goal, is to do like an actual company-sponsored enduro effort starting in 2022. That will be, we'll probably do 4 or 5 races a year, as many employees driving as possible that are into it and are good enough drivers. And so that's kind of the plan, to just kind of put like a nice, like we have the budget now to actually do something like that, which we never had before. So that's just gonna be part of our whole marketing mix, testing, all of that. Way we look at it is, if we show people that we can run cars that hard for that long, and that's what we put our swaps through, people are gonna be like, okay, well, maybe they're doing that with a BRZ, but their E30 stuff, I assume, is equivalent. I mean, that's the same level of work we wanna do. So that's the plan. So I think that'd be a good place for us to play as a manufacturer of products that we try to advertise as being reliable. So.
Jason and I, we coached a lot of guys, young guys trying to start up their detail business.
Okay.
And there was the struggle, the real struggle. Like, it seems like there's no way around that. We had a guy ask us once, he's like, should you talk about the work-life balance at the beginning? And I was like, that's a good idea. And Jason said, no, that's stupid. Because there isn't a work-life balance at the beginning. You have to put in the time. You have to make that sacrifice.
It's a work-life balance that is all work up front. Yeah. And then with the goal that, eventually you can be like, hey, I'm the boss, I'll take the day off. I do, these guys know what to do. If I need to leave, things continue. So that's kind of and I'm trying to get to that point now, because I'm still involved in a lot of day-to-day stuff, and I'm trying to farm out as much of that to staff, so I don't have to be, if I want to be able to take a week off and not be stressed out about it, and I'm not at that point yet, but like, I'm getting there, so, but yeah.
Any nuggets of advice for wannabe entrepreneurs who are starting something like this?
You just have to work harder than everybody else, honestly. Like, you cannot, like, you have to look at it as like, I remember my mentality was like, I cannot fail, because I do not want to go back to my other job. Even though I had a great job. I worked with great people. My boss was great. Everything was cool. But like, there was a point where I was sat.
Some of them are watching this.
You're watching this, guys? But I was sitting at my desk one day, and I just remember being like, and I had just started the company, like, working on things. And I remember sitting at my desk, and I'm like, if I'm sitting here in 5 years from now, I'm gonna be really, really depressed. Like, I don't want to do this my whole career, and I want to start a business. And if I don't do it now, it's gonna only get harder as your expenses get higher. You have a family, this and that. And so I guess that's the other advice. Do it while you're young, because I really realized, like, if I don't do this right now, and if I don't succeed at it, this isn't ever happening. And I knew that, and so I worked like that. And I would just come home from work, and I would just start working again until 1, 2 in the morning. And I would get up, show up at 8:30, and drink a lot of coffee, and just put on a happy face, even though I was like dying inside, and did that for like 2 years. So I don't know, like, anybody can do it. You just have to like do it. And I think a lot of people talk about starting businesses and I always wanted to do this. You just literally have to do it. And a lot of people sit around and wait for the perfect idea. Don't wait for a perfect idea, wait for a good idea. I had a good idea, and here we are. But like, was it the best idea? Sometimes I'm like, wow, this is really a pain. Why is our stuff so complicated? Why are we making such low volume, really complicated stuff? Like, this is so difficult. Why did I do this to myself? That's okay. It was a good idea, and we did it, and you just do it. And so, with detailing, same thing. It's a proven business. Do it. Put in the work. And I think you can't not succeed if you have the right idea and you put in the time.
The right passion too. I mean, you got to be doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And I think that's what resonates with our customers is they go, this is legit stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just someone going through the motions, it's someone who really cares about it.
And what's funny is I got completely opposite advice from my old boss who had started the previous company I worked for. And I told him he knew I wanted to start a business eventually, and he was cool with that. And he would, we'd talk, and he would always give me advice. Good guy. And he's like, when I was talking about doing something in motorsports, he's like, don't do something that like you're passionate about, because you're gonna get like distracted, and like you're not gonna be able to like see clearly of like the business side of things, and you're gonna be like sidetracked by this and that. And he's like, find a business that's like a good, sound, profitable business model and work that business. And I like ended up being like, I hear your advice, but I totally disagree because I will never be motivated enough. I just won't be motivated. I won't do it. If it's something I'm not like excited to come to work and do, I'm just not going to be into it.
Yeah, I feel lucky to be able to do this because it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
You know, I'm like, this is fun. This is like, I get to do this every day?
Exactly.
All right.
Like, I don't mind working more hours because I'm having a good time.
Exactly, but that's it. You know, if you're going to be working on the weekends, you know, we're doing a car show on Sunday. I normally wouldn't want to give up my car show, my Sunday for work. But to go to a car show and talk to other car people and show off my car, that seems like a great idea.
Exactly. And that's why, like, when you go to the track for the weekend, I'm like, oh no, I'm working. I'm driving a car.
Remind yourself sometimes, don't
Yeah,
you?
right?
I got to go to the track this weekend and work.
Oh, what a drag. I gotta go test this car at an awesome racetrack.
Talk about the flip side now.
Yeah.
So what you've achieved, financial freedom, the passion, where are you at now, and like what was the payoff for all the hard work?
I would say the payoff is that I get to come to work every day doing something I love to do with fantastic people that I all consider good friends, and I've been able to handpick every one of them, and just to like build something that has, you know, equity, and that, you know, like this business is actually worth something now, and it didn't exist before, and so, you know, it's just a different mentality. You know, most people are, you know, saving for retirement. I got my 401k, this and that, and I'm sitting here like, I want to build a business that's worth a bunch of money, then buy $1 million building that's worth a bunch of money eventually once we're done with this space, and then just kind of keep doing that, and then all of a sudden, cool, I have this now. And so, you know, whether I sell it or keep it long term or whatever, you know, at least you have that. So that, I think, like, I'm not seeing that payoff now, but that's kind of just, I'm starting to, and that's kind of just the direction that I want to go with it, so.
You're young, I think you got a lot of time to...
Yeah, right, exactly. I have to remind myself, I'm feeling old these days, man.
Do you feel more stressed because of the responsibility, or less stressed because you're not in a stressful job, or because you have more control?
I feel less stress, but more the real weight of responsibility that I'm kind of responsible for providing for a lot, not only my people, but then all of them and their family, you know? Some of these guys have kids and stuff, and like they got bills to pay, they got mortgages. Like I said, John just bought a house this week. Like, that's another mortgage that's being funded just by what we're doing here. And like that's very, like, it doesn't scare me, but it's like real. It gives you like a real sense of like, I have to make good decisions.
Yeah, the pressure to make sure you're getting shit done.
Exactly. Like, I'm like, you can't slack off. You can't, like, you just can't do that. You can't make dumb decisions. You can't just like buy cars because you want to buy a car. You gotta buy machines. You gotta hire the right employee at the right time. You know, it's like that type of thing that like it really kind of recenters your focus, you know, as you're just running reports every month and seeing where things are looking at and the health of the business of like, okay, well, you know, I got to make these right decisions, and you know, and I have people I talk to for advice too. You know, other business owners that like I think is really valuable, so that I can pick their brain and I'm like, oh, do I buy a new machine or do I buy another used machine? You know, that type of thing. So
You got to have, we call that the board of directors. You got to have those people hanging around you.
What do we have ready to take home?
yeah, we've got Sarah's working on some stuff. Let's take a look. Look, we got Chandler making some titanium here. Look at this. This is the beginning of our exhaust right here for the race car. Very heavy.
Oh. That's awesome, man. I'm Jason. Chandler, nice to meet you, man. Oh, yeah.
Chandler is the legend. I tried to hire Chandler for over a year. I bugged him every 3 months. I was like, hey, when are you coming to work here? When are you coming to work here? I need you. I need your skills. I wore him down. Stole him away. So, yeah. Anyway, carry on.
We keep working on Dennis stuff.
Yeah.
Dennis, come on, man. Pick a job. You enjoy one of the things that we enjoy, which is that you can hire people that are not just a pair of hands, but someone with a little bit of passion and who goes, man, I dig what you're doing and I want to be part of it.
It's everybody here. And that's important to me because it's motivating to people. And I mean, these guys, like Chris, who's more sales, marketing, photography, he just comes back here randomly throughout the day to see what Chandler's up to on this car. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. I'm so excited. He just like is just nerding out about it. And like, I love that. Like, I think that's great. Like, that's kind of what you need. So, we have a cool car comes in the shop and work stops and everyone kind of descends on the cool car. Or when a guy finishes detailing it, he goes and puts it in, he's finished with it, and then he gets out his camera and he takes a few photos for his Instagram page. Exactly. That's what I want. I always will, that's the kind of thing, you could sit there and be like, hey, get back to work. But I'm like, no. This is like, this whole experience is what we're all about. And, when we went to NCM to test the BRZ, I think it was like 5 or 6 of us went just because they wanted to go. And I'm like, well, really, John and I just need to go, but you guys all want to come with? I'm like, all right, what the heck? I'll put you guys all up in a hotel. We'll just hang out and it's fine. I can't do this every time, but like, this is cool and I appreciate you're excited.
Culture, the racetrack's got to be part of it.
Exactly.
Is there anything else you do to promote good culture or something conscious that, how do you define culture here at your company?
Boy, I'd say just the vibe of everybody's friends, everybody gets along well, and everybody's an adult, and I treat them as such. I've never told an employee, hey, get off your cell phone or something like that. Like, if you're outside on a phone call, it's because you had to make a phone call, and I'm okay with that. And if you're slacking all day, then we'll talk about it. But, I try to have that type of mentality. We try to just do stuff together. Like, a couple days ago, like John's like, I'm going to the grocery store, I'm getting stuff to grill. So we pulled out the grill and John's just grilling burgers and brats. And we just took a half an hour and just had like a workday beer and a burger or two and just like hung out and just kicked back for half an hour. And like that type of thing is just important.
You'll drive yourself crazy if you have to micromanage everything.
Exactly, you just can't, And I've been micromanaged a bunch. Very early in my career, and it's like the worst thing, and it just like sucks the life out of you. And it's just
we learned that if we have to overmanage somebody, they're not right for the company.
Exactly, you just can't do it. And I want these guys to feel valued, that they are happy to be here, they feel appreciated, that they've got opportunity because we're growing, and that they feel they can come talk to me about whatever. And and we have those conversations, or I'll grab one of them and we'll have lunch or something just to catch up. Will and I did that a couple weeks ago. I'm like, hey, like you've been super busy, I've been super busy, let's just grab lunch. I want to let's catch up a little bit. It's just that type of thing. So that's what I try to do anyway. I'm certainly imperfect at it, but they can ask them for all my flaws, but which are many, but
as long as you have them.
You do your best. That's all you can do.
I'm glad you didn't say we work hard and we play hard.
Yeah, right. That's like the most cliche. That's when you're just working hard and there's no play.
I'm sure you're busy and got lots of stuff to do. I don't want to take up any more of your time, man. How do you want to end this? Is there anything else you want to show, or? Let's come up here. Oh, this is all us right now?
Let's see if this is all you. Oh, look at that. See, nice. This is how Pro Sarah is, who basically handles all of our shipping now. We hired her for like office administrator, type of role, and then little by little she just manages all the shipping and all the back orders and updates customers and does this stuff it's complex. There's a lot to it. So it just takes
This is a lot more than I was thinking. Yeah. And this is not even all it.
No, there's a bunch more. So, but yeah, you've got your downpipe and your exhaust, okay. And then this is probably your intake manifold. We got some custom tape last month, nice. So that's when you made it, when you can justify spending $1,000 on tape.
You're not spending $1,000, you're investing $1,000.
That is true. I mean, come on. Do you really? Yeah. Do you want? I think this.
Yeah, that's killer.
That's right. Exactly. So it's just we take pride in it. So, but yeah. So there you go. You got a shirt. In fact, I'll give you guys some more shirts too, because we have many shirts. So yeah. So this will be all for you, and.
I appreciate your time, man, and taking the time. I love your story. That just makes it even more, special to put this in there and excited to do it.
No, I love that. And the best thing for me is like when I talk to customers, like at the track, and they're like, "This is so cool. I love my car. It's been running awesome. Thanks for doing this." And I'm like, why are you thanking me? Like you bought everything. Like I'm just glad that you bought it. And I just feel like very happy that like people are like into it, and they see the same vision I had, and they're like, they're willing to spend, you know, a few grand to make it happen. And so, yeah, so thank you guys.
So we'll put everything down in the description below, links where you can get all the Kpower.
Kpower.industries or kmiata.com still redirects there. So
Awesome.
but yeah,
Appreciate it, man. Thank you
thank you so much. All right,
for taking the time.
absolutely, guys.
Really nice talking to you.
Absolutely, thanks, guys. Absolutely, for sure.